Hello, here is your lesson on how to add and subtract radicals. So it's basically 3 steps. The better you are at simplifying radicals, then the easier this is going to be. Step 1, you just have to simplify all the radicals. And then you're finding any radicals that have the same index, remember that little number on like the check mark, and the same radicand. Okay, these are the only ones that can be combined. For the common radical, then you're going to add or subtract the coefficients. So the coefficient would be like the number right in the front, and you keep the common radical. So let's go through what this really means. So I am going to break the square root of 20 down into the square root of 5 and the square root of 4. And I'm just going to rewrite this part here. Okay, so I know the square root of 4 is 2. Okay, so my first step is I'm simplifying it. So I see my 2 2's. So I'm going to pull a 2 out with this. Okay, so now it's out of the house. I'm going to multiply these two guys that are on the outside. So negative 2 times 2 is negative 4. So on the outside I have negative 4, and on the inside I still have my 5. Okay, so now that's simplified. That's what that turned into. And now I still have minus 2 radical 5. Okay, so step 1 is done. Step 2 says identify radicals with the same index. So here we have the same index and the same radicand. So the number inside is the radicand. So I'm wondering how many radical 5s I have. So you're keeping the common radical, which is the 5. So I'm keeping those, and what this is saying is you're adding or subtracting what's in the front. So I have negative 4 and negative 2, or negative 4 minus 2. So altogether that would be negative 6. And now I'm done. Okay, so I'm going to do example 1 here, problem 1. So 3 radical 6 minus 2 radical 6. So I could try to simplify these, but that's as simplified as it gets, so I can't do anything. So now actually I'm already on my last step. I'm just going to look at the coefficients, the numbers in the front. I want to know how many radical 6's I have left. So remember, that stays the same. I just want to know what number goes in the front. So all I'm doing is taking 3 minus 2, which is 1. So I could write 1, or I could leave it like this. I'll put the 1 just so you can see. Since 3 minus 2 gives me 1, it goes there. Okay, I'm going to move on to example 3. So for example 3, I'm looking at 10 radical 7. So I know I can't simplify radical 7. For this one though, 2 radical 63, I'm going to break it up into 9 times 7, since I know 9 times 7 is 63. I know the square root of 9 is a 3, so a 3 comes out. I'm going to multiply the numbers in the front. So remember, whatever you take out, you just multiply it by what's in the front. So in the front I have a 6, that's my coefficient, 7 is my radicand. So I have 10 radical 7 plus 6 radical 7. So since I have the same radicand right there, I want to know how many radical 7's I have altogether. So grand total would be 16 radical 7. Whoops, I'm sorry. Okay, let's do another one. I'm going to go down to number 8. Okay, so for example 8, let's try to simplify this here. So 45, I know is 9 times 5, and 245. So some of you were letting me know that when it's bigger numbers, you're struggling a little bit with it. So let's break this down. I know it ends in a 5, so I can divide it by 5. If I take 245 and divide it by 5, I should get 49. So I'm going to go through and just simplify what I can. In here, I know the square root of 9 is a 3, so I'm going to pull the 3 out. 4 times 3 is 12, so I have a 12 on the outside, 5 is left on the inside. And now I'm looking over here, I have the square root of 5 times 49. I don't know radical 5, I can't simplify that, but I do know the square root of 49 is 7. So I'm going to pull a 7 out front, and I'm going to multiply these two together, so I get 21 radical 5. So now I'm just combining these. I have the same, right, radical 5 right here. So I want to put them together. So 12 plus 21 is what I'm adding, and I would get 33. Radical 5 is my final answer. Okay, so I'm going to step it up a little bit here. Okay, so on the next page, I'm going to do number 14 right here. I've got 10 radical 6 plus 18 times the square root of 150 minus 4 radical 54. So let's break these down if I could. I'm just going to rewrite 10 radical 6 plus 18, and now I'm trying to think of what numbers multiply to 150. I know 25 times 6 is 150. So I've got that, and then minus 4, and then I know 9 times 6 is 54. Okay, so now we're just simplifying. So I can't do anything here. I'm just going to rewrite it so it's all on the same line. I know the square root of 25 is 5. Okay, so I'm going to multiply those together. 5 times 18 would give me 90 in the front. I've got the square root of 6 there. And now in my last one, I've got 9 times 6. So I know the square root of 9 is 3, so a 3 comes out. So I have minus 12 radical 6. Okay, so now I'm looking for my common radical, or radicand is 6 right there. So I want to know how many radical 6's do I have. So I'm going to add 10 plus 90. So 10 plus 90 is 100. But now I have to subtract 12. So 100 minus 12 will give me 88. Okay, that's all this is. So like I said, the better you are at simplifying the radicals, the easier this is. That's really all you're doing. You're simplifying, finding anything that you have in common that you could, like you could group together. Okay, so the last one I want to do that looks like this is number 16. So we have negative 3 radical 6 minus 5 radical 6. So already I see two similar ones. But then I have plus 4 radical 8. I'm going to just break this down into 4 times 2. Okay, square root of 4 is 2, so a 2 comes out. 2 times 4 is 8. So I've got 8 on the outside and the 2 on the inside. So I'm going to just rewrite everything. I have negative 3 radical 6 minus 5 radical 6 plus, and now this turned into 8 radical 2. So when I combine these, I have negative 3 minus 5. So negative 3 minus 5 is negative 8 radical 6. And now these have the same radicand of 2. So I have 8 plus 4, so that's 12 radical 2. And now these can't be combined because they've got different numbers. I have a 6 and a 2. So sometimes you're going to be left with something like this. Okay, where you can't, that's your final answer. That's as simplified as it gets. Okay? So the last one I want to do is a word problem. So don't be like intimidated by word problems here. So number 18, the length and width of a rectangle is represented by the expressions. So 2 radical 405. So I'm just going to draw a rectangle. So I've got 2 times the square root of 405, and then 9 times the square root of 48. Okay, so I just drew that out. Write an expression to represent the perimeter of the rectangle in simplest radical form. So the perimeter means you're going to add all the sides. So I would add 2 radical 405 plus 9 radical 48 plus 2 radical 405 again plus 9 radical 48. Okay, so the issue is though, it's not simplified. So I'm going to break down 405. So I have a 2 on the outside. And I know I could divide this by 5 since it ends in a 5. It's actually 5 times 81. So I'm going to simplify this. I know the square root of 81 is 9. So a 9 would come out. I'll multiply these two together. So 9 times 2 is 18. So I would get 18 on the outside and a 5 on the inside. So that would be one of my dimensions. And then for 9 radical 48, I know that 48 is 16 times 3. Okay, so now to simplify it, I know the square root of 16 is 4, so 4 comes out. 9 times 4 is 36. So I have 36 on the outside, a 3 on the inside. So if it wants the perimeter, what I would do is take 18 radical 5 plus 36 radical 3 and add the same thing again because you're going the whole way around. Okay, so I'm just adding these up. So all together I want to know how many radical 5s I have. So I can add 18 plus 18, so that's 36 radical 5 plus, and now I have 36 radical 3 and 36 radical 3. So these two I can put together, and that would give me 72 radical 3. And that's it. That would be my final answer. Okay, so basically all you have to do is simplify and then put any like terms together. Thanks for watching.